learning goals, our pedagogical goals, our curriculum goals must cover all these areas: emotional, mental, intellectual, physical. We all know these words. Sometimes we find it difficult to relate to what we do in the classroom and where does the word emotional or intellectual or conceptual, where does that fit in? So sometimes we fail to form that link. Visual motor skills, we are talking about fine motor skills as well as gross motor skills. Social readiness and communication. If the child is unable to develop these curriculum goals or these areas at say class 1 or class 2, that's when that's a milestone not achieved. You will understand that your children come from diverse backgrounds, and please understand here what are we working with. The varied states, one holistic report card. The languages skills may not be as developed. Not every child is an English speaker. I would say schools are no longer run of the mill. Neither are they cut and dried. Our work seems to extend beyond our working hours and seems to be never ending. So let me take a moment to applaud every mentor here who is a part of the school system, whether as a teacher, as a teaching staff, or as coordinators, or as head of institutions who are managing and running their own schools. Without further ado, let me go straight into the presentation. I am presenting here the Standardized Central Board of Secondary Education presentation, which is a very, very comprehensive document by itself. And in our school, which is a CBSE-based school, we have used these guidelines and the Nippon guidelines to implement the holistic progress card. Like I said, we are a CBSE run school and we follow all guidelines issued from time to time by CBSE. Please understand that whichever state we are in within India, or if some of we mentors have joined from the UAE or Riyadh, you all follow the CBSE curriculum. The CBSE is a wonderful plethora and a platform for all guidelines issued. Very comprehensive guidelines are issued by CBSE from time to time. They give guidelines as well as release training manuals, which we all need to sit down and read. My earnest request to all school leaders, if they are logged in, that we are the flag bearers of implementation of any such training manual. And then, of course, we can always expect our teachers to follow suit. All school heads of institutions are the pedagogical leaders, and the teachers, all you teachers, look up to any school principal for implementation of any new initiative, which is either set by the state board or whether it is set by CBSE or ICSE. Next slide, please. This was an initiative, the holistic report card was an initiative taken by CBSE after the NEP was put into practice. And never again has the word holistic been used at so many levels. We all now have been attending webinars and training on the NEP and the manner in which they have introduced the 5+3+3+4 stages. We will concentrate on the first five, which we all know is the foundational stage. Please understand, the foundational stage commences in other language, often used as nursery. It is also as pre-KG sometimes, or kindergarten 1, kindergarten 2, and then finally goes into class 1. There may be different terminologies which will be used in different schools, international schools, or any other private schools. But by and large, it is the age of the child at which the child is entering school. Next slide, please. We will understand this. Yes, here the facing slide We've all seen this slide before, but it is a quick recap as to understanding the level of the child when they are entering the school. As you can see, Balvatika 1, Balvatika 2, Balvatika 3. As you can see, preschool, the age is what we need to be firmly implementing in our schools. And it is the onus of school managements to implement this in toto. This is also now followed by all Samagra Shikshas, all DEOs, all SCRTs very, very strictly. Slowly, most private schools are also toeing the line and following these age groups. So when a child is entering class 1, they have to be 6 years of age. We have slowly integrated the 6 years of age at class 1, KG and pre-KG. Many schools are a merged setup. What do I mean by merged setup? That you have a preschool, a kindergarten, as well as class 1 and 2, under the same management, under the same umbrella. Works well. And if it doesn't, make sure that we understand the expected learning outcome at each stage. What a child should know at this particular age, at 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 or 6 to 7 subsequently, is very clearly laid out by the Nipun guidelines. We just have to be very, very well versed. Once we are well versed with the Nipun guidelines, we turn them into achievable, relatable goals. When we talk about learning outcomes and pedagogical goals, which we'll quickly get into, it is the lesson planning which will be based on these pedagogical or curriculum goals, wherein you as a team, along with your headmistresses and principals, will develop them. What will be your guidelines? Your guidelines will be the Nipun. Your guidelines will be the manuals which have been released by CBSE. Now we bring in the word holistic. When we say holistic, we are talking about mental, we are talking about physical, we are talking about performing arts, we are talking about emotional. That is the holistic umbrella. And like I said, the word has been used so many times that all our learning goals, our pedagogical goals, our curriculum goals must cover all these areas: emotional, mental, intellectual, physical. We all know these words. Sometimes we find it difficult to relate to what we do in the classroom and where does the word emotional or intellectual or conceptual, where does that fit in? So sometimes we fail to form that link. If we fail to form that link, it is very difficult to translate it into classroom learning. I may set a worksheet, but I don't know which learning outcome am I linking it into. The understanding is extremely broad. So please understand, it is a very, very stepwise process, and you all must attend regular trainings to keep brushing this up till your thinking is in tandem with the NEP. Many a times I have seen, I'm the head of the institution. There are so many training programs now all over that we are going to talk about NEP, we are going to be talking about, it's very general. Please make sure that the training programs that you're attending are very specific. For example, you're doing something on only learning outcomes, or you're doing something like today, we are only going to talk about the HPC. So please understand that you should sift through the kind of training program you are attending. Kindly do not enroll yourself for every other webinar that is coming your way. Be specific and make sure that you are, enrolling in the ones which are talking about only specific topics. Now that we've got the age gap, criteria out of the way, preschool, that is 3 to 4 years, then 4 to 5 years, 5 to 6 years, and of course 6 to 7, then 7 to 8. This is sacrosanct as set by the CBSE. Schools must follow this, and it is being done at the state level. And it is at this level that your holistic report card has to be implemented. Please understand that the CBSE has already put out a template. For implementation of HPC. We have to follow that in tandem with whatever guidelines have been issued. Also, we can make a few changes here and there, but our curriculum goals remain the same. You can cover your report card in beautiful colors and present it in the manner you want with, as your school says, but the curriculum goals will remain the same. Next slide, please. We talked about Nipun, which is the initiative for proficiency in reading and, of course, numeracy. Basics in reading, writing, and math is what this is as a simplified terminology. Very important for a child to comprehend. Listening as well as reading, should be able to identify words, should be able to do basic puzzles, basic exercises, and basic operations with number. Such a large, big paragraph can be condensed into these 2 lines. This is what is expected learning outcome from these years. And every year, whether it is from 3 to 4 or 6 to 7, there are specific goals that are outlined in the training manual that you have to follow. And at the start of the class, the start of, say, class 1, the child is at level A. And by the time the child goes to class 2, the child should be at level B. And there are a series of areas in which you as teachers will be working in the classroom. Next slide, please. Now let's break it down. Language skills, visual motor skills. We are talking about fine motor skills as well as gross motor skills. Social readiness and communication. If the child is unable to develop these curriculum goals or these areas at, say, class 1 or class 2, that's when that's a milestone not achieved. So that we need to then investigate in a different way. But that is the benchmark that you will set as a mentor for your child to go into the next level. Expected learning outcomes. What you achieve after the class is separate. That is a different ballgame. But this is what is expected from a child. Different learning needs. You will understand that your children come from diverse backgrounds. And please understand here, what are we working with? The varied states, one holistic report card, but look at the children from the various backgrounds that they're coming from. The languages skills may not be as developed. Not every child is an English speaker. Most children, their first language is their mother tongue. Their first language is Hindi, maybe, or any other language which is from any part of the country. Please, we need to work around that. And it's not a handicap. That's the first language that the child has learned. I come from Goa. The first language that the child learns is Konkani. And we are equipped to handle that transition from Konkani to a Hindi, maybe Konkani to an English. And it's a slow process. You have to work around it. Not everybody is competent in English. So language learners, and there are 2 languages. Please understand, they are multilingual. And of course, English or Hindi, whatever your school wishes to opt in. And that also is your medium of instruction. Traditional, it is an alternative learning system, because you cannot be boxing. You cannot be saying that this has to be done this way. And here, as a leader, I'm urging all leaders to give their teachers a free hand. Please give your teachers a free hand to implement whatever they wish in the paramount. If the child is not learning through path A, allow them to learn through a path B. Just because there is a lesson plan in place, you may not want to adopt that standard method. We give a lot of freedom to our teachers, and I see far more creativity in the teachers when I let them be. They know that this is what has to be achieved by a class. That we know that we need our children to be at this level. Can we give the teacher the wherewithal and empower the teacher that, okay, there is a certain manner in which we wish to proceed. I am following this, trust me. So that is important, right? So we also can do that and have these conversations with your coordinators, with your heads, that I wish to pursue it this way. The language can be learned this way. Can I do these through gaming? Can I do the motor skills or the gross motor skills to this way? Can I set worksheets like this to achieve this curriculum goal? Encourage. These conversations should be encouraged first among you peers. You have to sit down once in a week and you have to be able to talk that this is not working in my class. Can this work? My children are different, differential learning has to be put into place. So my children can learn in this manner. These conversations first you need to have as peers, and then as a team, you can always take it to your senior. Next slide, please. We talked about they are clearly defined. A good lesson plan will clearly define a proper learning outcome. If the learning outcome is not in place, I do not consider it a good plan. You should know where are you taking your class, the benchmark as we talked about. And of course, your learning pedagogy has to be based on a variety, whether it is art or whether it is sports, whether it is games, whether it is dancing, whether it is jumping, whether it is doing simple puzzles, whether it is even browsing in the sense that, today's children are far more tech savvy. We have just revamped our curriculum in computers also, because we thought our class 1 and 2 is way sharper than what class 1 and 2 was 2 years back. So you have to be integrating technology into their learning. So it is holistic. That's what I mean when I say holistic. Next slide, please. Before explaining this particular slide to you, heavily the word competency based learning. There are two core foundations on which the NEP is set on. One is holistic and one is competency based. Competency based learning outcomes will go through till class 12. Please understand that skill has to be measured, knowledge has to be measured, abilities have to be measured, and behavior has to be measured. It is, you remember when we had CCE in place, you had a very holistic approach and you had something called as anecdotal records. It is like, go back to that word anecdotal records. It is the word HPC here, or the HPC report card is anecdotal in nature. It is anecdotal. Why? Because once I show you the template of the HPC that we have implemented, you will understand what we mean by anecdotal. Every aspect of the child's learning and what the child does in class has to be recorded. It brings out a certain area of competency in a child. And competency is not measured by a test. Competency is measured by observation of the child, whether it is academically or through co-scholastic. So the teacher has a lot more burden, a lot more burden. I will rephrase. I wouldn't call it burden. I would call it a huge responsibility, that the number of students that she's handling in a class is tremendous. I think in India, we are handling close to 30 children, 35 children in a class, 38. It is very tough to handle. It is very, very tough to handle so many children. And again, very tough to holistically document each child. So it's not easy. And here it is. We as leaders, as schools, as managements must empower the teacher. Foundational years. Can you see over there on the screen? We've spoken about it: physical, motor development, socio-emotional, language, literacy, and of course, numeracy. When we talk about spiritual and moral development, we talk about values, we talk about performing arts, we talk about visual arts, and of course, they are all interdisciplinary. Now, these words fit it into what schools are already doing. We are all doing mathematics. We are all doing English. We are doing Hindi, for example. It could be any other language. We are doing environmental science. We are doing science. We are doing art. Our children are doing music. We are already doing it. It is just that what we tend to measure is what is undergoing a change. Think about the timetables that are implemented in your respective schools. They are already doing it. Your schools are catering to a timetable like this. But the process now in which you are going to document your measurement of these skills, the analytics aspect of these skills, is what your outlook has to change. Your schools are very adeptly and very well following these skills. All right. And these are a part of your timetables, a 40 period timetable or a 35 to a 38 period timetable. You are already doing. Some schools have Saturday workings, only club periods. Some people are already they're doing the DEAR program. Some people are already doing listening and speaking skills. These are all a part of holistic development, and these are all a part of your holistic report card. It's only that the documentation has become far more comprehensive. Next slide, please. I can see a chat that has appeared, the lines of holistic. I'm coming to that very soon. What are we talking? We are talking about development of life skills. That has been also a major area that is has to be implemented. Next, please. Life skills is something which we have to connect. Now we talk about curriculum goals. What are our expectations? Good health and well-being. Where will that come from? A robust PE curriculum with specific activities in place, with specific curriculum in place, all through Playway. But what are we measuring? Health and well-being. Effective communicators, language skills, speaking skills, listening skills, comprehensive skills. That's our goal too. Already you all are doing it. You all are already doing it as a part of your curriculum. Coming to involved learners and connect with their immediate environment, self-awareness and environmental awareness. Houses around us, trees around us, bushes around us, right? When we grow older, then you do things like the trees around us, the animals around us, right? The transport, the people around us. It is all a part of your immediate environment. Some schools follow science, some schools follow environmental science. You're doing it. You're already doing it. And these have been defined as goals in class, which you are going to follow in term 1 or term 2. Next slide, please. These are your developmental goals, which we just pointed out. Effective communicators, health and well-being, and involved and engaged learners. Group work, singing, oral drilling, dancing, nature walks around the school, knowing the people who are working in the school, knowing the immediate surroundings at home, family trees. These are all a part of development goals. And this is how your pedagogy in the classroom must be developed. This is how your lesson plans have to be developed. There are times when teachers reach out to me and tell me that in our schools, there is a set curriculum. We have to follow that curriculum and that syllabus must be covered. Very correct, very right. But can you proceed if your class is not responding or is not able to cope with the achievement of a particular development goal? Your class, for example, till August and September, class 1 is unable to read. You as teachers have to go back and revisit the phonics. Only then can you proceed forward. Can you do conceptual understanding of various small concepts? Can you talk, can the children speak or describe or do a show and tell? No. So that means what do you have to do? Your development goal 1, you are not able to proceed. So there are times you have to pull back because your class is not there yet. So there are times we as educators have to tweak our timelines so that the class is there, because it's a goal and a benchmark that you have to achieve before the class goes to the next level. So there are areas in which you must divide good to teach and must to teach. So kindly make sure that your syllabus and curriculum is divided in such a way. So these are your goals which must be achieved till your child goes to the next class. Next slide, please. Key competencies and development goals. These are Nipun guidelines. I will share. These are all available in the CBSE academics. Must go through them. I will not dwell much on this because training manuals are available. Please reach out to your training coordinators in your schools so that these workshops can be conducted. CBSE and Disha and all the training portals are conducting. Swayam, they are all conducting these workshops. Please attend them and understand. And the best way to do is get the training manual, download it, keep it on your desktop and go through it in parts. Talk about it to your peers. You'll understand. Teaching each other, you will be able to understand. Next slide, please. So can you see, we've talked about these. I just want you to see a diagrammatic representation. Your learning outcomes must be defined. What are you achieving? What competencies are you testing? Skill, knowledge. What are you testing? Behavior. Are you testing emotional? Are you measuring their abilities in a certain area? Get that clear, and then link it to which developmental goal have you achieved. Right. Next slide, please. These are the prime learning areas, which are your development goals, which appear in your HPC. I will show them to you. Very clearly defined HPC goals has under each developmental goal, and how you will measure them. How you will measure them through worksheets is what we are going to talk about quickly. Next slide, please. Learning outcomes, we talked about already. They are what level do you want your children to be, and what competency are you testing. What we sometimes falter is how to test, right? How to test is where we all need massive discussions. We all know they have been defined. By the end of this class, my child should have the knowledge of this. By the end of this class, my child should be able to do these numbers or do an addition. All these are clearly laid out. But sometimes we end up setting straightforward worksheets and a pen and paper test, and we think that's done. Can we make it more creative? Can we make it more interesting? Next slide, please. Look at the key competencies, what is expected. And now your brain can think. How can I test these key competencies? And believe me, there are 3 stages, right? Developmental goal 1, 2, and 3. Every developmental goal is connected to a learning outcome. Now you have to think, how are you going to achieve those learning outcomes? And there are myriad ways of doing it. How do you measure fine motor skills? Or how do you do awareness of self? Or healthy habit, how are you going to do? Don't we do good touch, bad touch? Yes, self-awareness, isn't it? We do pro-social behavior, for example, sharing, caring in the classroom. Even when the children sit together in circle time and they share a meal, and how well are they doing it? That is also a developmental goal. There are children who falter on these social skills, and that's where your observation has to come in, right? Is the child able to achieve that milestone or not? So these you have to just get these competencies in place, and you have to just understand how to measure them. And that's where your brainstorming with your peers and your principals and headmistresses will help. Next, please. Goal 2, talking, listening, ASL skills, simple. And reading with comprehension. That means whatever the child is reading, loud reading, you keep the finger and you read. You have phonics. Are that achieved? And writing with purpose. What do we mean by writing with purpose? We just plain and simple mean creative writing. You all been doing it. And when you have been given a topic, can the child write 2 lines? Can the child do picture composition? Can the child look at a picture, say 2 lines? These are all, again, communicators, and this is where language 1 and language 2 will come in. Next, please. These are your goal 3. Now, can you see concept related to environment, EVS, measurement, mathematics, number operations, mathematics, shapes and data, mathematics, number sense. All these come under maths, and you have to be able to use ways and means to measure these. Now, if you're doing shapes, just think, how can you integrate it with EVS? Quickly, you can think of an excellent worksheet. Take them to a quick nature walk. Show them the shapes, what is there. And then you come back to class. Set a worksheet on, say you found, say, a tree, which shape was it, you can correlate it with. So your worksheets have to be like that. Everything cannot be achieved in the worksheet. Then when you took them to a nature walk around the school, what all did they observe? So that comes under environmental science. So can you see the umbrellas are broad, but it has to be interdisciplinary, and you have to be able to achieve those goals. You have to keep those outcomes in mind. Next, please. Now we get into the actual HPC. Next slide, please. It is, we said, 360-degree, and it should be cognitive, social, emotional, and motor skills. And you are going to achieve it. How is what we are going to slightly dwell on for a while. Next, please. Again, inclusive. There are no grades. You will see there are no grades. You are not at all judging a child on pass or not able to do or is going to be retained in a class. Nothing like this. Always we talk about learning is progressive. Child will get there at the end of the year, academic year. So there is no that I'm already there. We are always work in progress. So we never say this child is already there. The child has ability to do much more. Next, please. Again, And by the way, this is back and forth. All knowledge here is formative. All assessment here is formative. There has to be continuous feedback with the parent as a stakeholder that this is where your child is and this is where we have to work on. Next, please. Again, we've discussed it. I will not dwell much on it. Outdoor toy, storytelling, all these competencies you have to build throughout the term. Next, please. A basic holistic progress report card will have certain aspects, please understand, laid out clearly by the CBSE. How you present it is up to your school, up to your management. There are very basic report cards, but by and large will have these pages. The child is supposed to fill out certain aspects, and the other aspects have to be measured through various worksheets. Glimpse of myself is all about self-awareness. Some of my teachers very beautifully take photographs. The school prints those photographs. All printing and photography is taken care by the school. The teacher herself also does it. And then pictures are pasted by the children and by the teacher together. The child's own picture. Some children like to draw. Most welcome. I'm a girl. I'm a boy. Simple things, very simple things. You may not want to paste a picture, but this is very, very basic. And the children love coloring. They love coloring. They get to know each other. How many boys, how many girls? Can I put a picture? Can I draw myself? Yes, why not? Next, please. My favorite, my family. Again here, children, these are all conversations in class. So I have seen, and it's a lovely sight in our school, the teacher sits on the floor and all her children around her. And we call it oral drilling. They do this because I read about it regularly in their plans. And they talk to every child about their family, right? And there comes a photograph. Could be a photograph, could be, again, a drawing. How many people in my family? And so much is known through that one photograph. You're welcome to draw as well. Again, this is all about me, self-awareness. This all comes under self-awareness. And this is a template very, very readily available. All we have to do is present it. My favorite food. Who are my friends, my colors? All right. Yes, handspan. Handspan. What was my handspan first? Has it, how much it is now and how much it is to later? My weight. Get the school doctors and the nurse involved, the medical officer here. Your PE department can do it. And they're very excited. It's a big thing to line up and go to the, the sick room or the infirmary and go and get your weight done, right? A lot of excitement when they go and stand in that giraffe, that height chart. Or I've become taller, I'm short now. So when they do this exercise in term 1, term 2, this particular report card is published once in term 1, uploaded online on the school ERP system. It should be, otherwise a hard copy does, or online does, or it can be given at the end of the term also as a term 1 docket and a term 2 docket. Term 1, whatever my weight was. So this is all self-awareness about myself. Next, please. Teacher's overall remarks. This is again very general. Can you see there are no grades? There are no grades. How do you observe? You be with your class for an entire year and you know your children so well. And that's where you, dear teachers, have to be vigilant so that you are able to write that pen picture of your child in term 1 or term 2. Basic report card. Completing tasks or dwelling on them or postponing them. Likes to play with others. Some children are loners. She shares. Can you see? These are very basic social behaviors, but have to be measured, right? Next, please. Right. Now we come to curriculum goals. Very interesting. These are pedagogical goals which have to be achieved. And always, I will share this template and so that it can be shared further with the teachers. I will just share the HPC part so that it can be implemented. What you have to now do is either a person has to be a beginner just starting or progressing, still getting there, or is adept at it. If you go through each of these, please understand every developmental goal has to be linked to a testing mechanism. When we are going to talk about how well the child, shows say for example, sensitivity towards the environment, or is curious, you have to attach it to an observation. And believe me, it is not easy to do it for 38 children. So I have deep regard for my class 1 and 2 teachers, deepest regards for my primary teachers, because the amount of involvement that they have in getting this report card together is very, very commendable. So if you see, whether it is emotional intelligence or whether it is attitude towards the environment, even when you notice a child is very, very clear about setting that desk right, wants the class clean, is always ready to help, can you see that the child is a little sensitive, while some children are not really into it. So these little things the teachers have to make a note of, and we make sure that they are documenting all this when they fill it for term 1. And is there an improvement? The child, is it still progressing or is not progressive? So if you read, there are very simple observations about everyday behavior. I forgot to mention, it was there before, I'm sure. Before we even get to measuring there is something called as Vidya Pravesh. Please make sure it is implemented in all schools without fail. Vidya Pravesh is a booklet released by released by the CBSE, sorry, the NCRT, under the National Curriculum Framework. It is mandatory to be implemented. That means 3 months of readiness of school program of every child. Before getting into formal curriculum, you have to make sure that every child has a printed copy of Vidya Pravesh kept in the school. It doesn't go as that, okay, I will send it to my, parents and they will get it done. It has to be done in the school. Again, I will share a copy of Vidya Pravesh. It is available. It has to be finished in school. And there are basic things, coloring myself, parts of the body, basic circling, basic puzzles, which they've done in kindergarten. Please also remember, there are some children who come without kindergarten. They are stepping into class 1. So they must go through that readiness for class 1, right? Next, please. Again, here are curriculum goals. Can you see? You have to tick mark. Very simple things. Very, very simple things like playing, drawing, coloring, dancing. And these are all subjects available in your school. How well are they competent? And these are all activities which can some measure fine motor skills, some can measure gross motor skills. Gross motor skills is outer, the big muscles, right? Outdoors. And that is in their PE and the games period, right? Well, are they able to achieve these goals in classroom as a 6-year-old? Very important, right? So these is also areas. I'll take on all questions in the end. There is one eye on the watch so that I do not exceed the time. Next, please. My portfolio, again, to be filled by the child and the class teacher. A lot of pictures, activities. Next, please. These are the aims, again, so that the child is up to a lot of activities. I understand it is difficult that when you say that so many activities, ma'am, but yes, through those activities, you are already measuring one of your curriculum goals. So have a document in place, have your, everything is digitized in our school. Our lesson plans are digital. We don't maintain registers in your, and 4 teachers work on a common lesson plan. So if I have 5 sections, each one contributes into development of that lesson plan. So if I have come up with an activity to measure one pedagogy or one particular area, another will contribute in, say, math, another will contribute in EVS. It works very well. And this is where you as peers can handhold. Otherwise, one section is in another direction and another section is in another direction. At the same time, helping out on creativity. But can you see there are so many goals and so many? That is the reason why we are calling it holistic, right? That is the reason we want an all-round measurement of or a benchmarking of their competencies. Next, please. Bridging the gaps. That means every time a child is faltering, you come back. You don't say that you are there. Okay, you are a B, you are at this level. You have to keep coming back and forth and taking the child through the learning again. Next, please. This is a slide which I absolutely love. assessment for learning and assessment as learning. Assessment as learning is formative. It could be something as simple as an open book test. You are, for example, you go to a class and you've done a topic. You ask quick questions to judge, where the child is, at what level. That is assessment as learning. When you say for learning, that is your end of the term proper pen and paper test. So you need to understand what kind of assessment are you going to take. What is your worksheet in case you are using one for? For example, if you've taken a picture composition and you want a child to identify and pick certain objects, that is assessment for learning. But if you are making the child do just a simple activity after you've done, for example, you are teaching waste. For example, you've talked to the children about, say, dry waste, wet waste. We do it since we have a waste management plan. The teachers get those dustbins in place. Awareness, nature awareness, natural surroundings. So what happens is you have a variety of waste. You talk about the waste and then you make them do that activity. That is different. Okay, there's a banana peel. Which dustbin will it go into? Here's paper. Which color dustbin will it go into? Let's get to how the didis and the bhaiyas and the sahayikas are disposing of our waste. Children know this. They know which dustbin to use. So these are again self-awareness about your surroundings. And that is again assess. Now, when you ask questions and make them do it as an activity, that becomes assessment as learning. It's a part of the process. It is not the end. So that becomes the formative assessment. So you have to start thinking like this, right? Next, please. Need for such assessment is obviously because you have to completely now revamp the way we learn. When CBSE implements Parak in various schools at the level of 3rd, 5th or 8th, there have been very alarming results on the reading and the numeracy skills of every child. That is why the schools, we as schools, now today across the country have to revamp the way we are teaching, and it is the need of the hour. And that is the reason why we are talking about holistic. And parents have to get involved also. It doesn't mean that I am going to make this project, kindly make this project and send it to class. No, it doesn't work like that. So you have to involve the child as well as the parent in part of all this. Next, please. Always your children are under beginners. They're just starting. Imagine a child who's come from a village and can only speak the mother tongue. That child will be slow in the medium of instruction. So, okay, he's beginner. Most children come under progressing, and once are the top ones, that the intelligent, the so-called toppers. We don't use such language and terminology, but they are already there. They are proficient. Next, please. Features of the pilot study. We talked about Vidya Pravesh. When we implement, it is very, very important. Vidya Pravesh should be done. They should be at par with the levels. Now, the developmental goal 3 very beautifully outlined. You should read that and your child should be at that level. Otherwise, if the child is unable to do the Vidya Pravesh, that means you have to start back again from ground zero with the child, right? It is important. And again, there is no pass or fail in this, nothing like that. The child is a beginner, we go back and redo it. It is difficult, I understand, my dear teachers. It is difficult because in a class, sometimes when there are so many children, it is very difficult to at times do differential learning. Take the help of your school counselors, assistant teachers to help you out in the process. Grade 1 and 3 should have formative assessments. There should not be end of the term exams. Please do away with the exams. I urge school managements to only do formative assessments. Yes, please. Next. What do we mean by pilot study? Pilot study is something like what is done in Parak. That means have a quick test, and then just to see where the class is, and then align that, okay, my class is unable to read this. So, okay, I go back to this methodology so that they are going to read. What am I going to do? I'll have a DEAR program in place. I will do loud reading. I will revisit phonics. I will introduce this program in reading. And then I will have listening tests. Let me speak a story. Let me see how much are they listening. All such activities have to be designed, right? Of course, interesting activities. We all know the word rubrics. Multidisciplinary means through one or two activities, say a math concept or a science concept can also be brought into light. Task and concept should be between all subject teachers. So everybody, most schools have a mother teacher concept, which works very well, right? Because you are able to think and wear different creative hats. Next, please. The progress card is available online. This is mostly for term 1 and not for term 2. Term 2 should have an entire report card covering the term 1 as well as term 2. Next, please. I love this quote again. He is Sir Ken Robinson. Who doesn't know him? Please do watch some of his talks. They are very, very inspiring. And he believes that classrooms kill creativity. Think about it. Because what do we follow? We follow one box fits all. So time to change that thinking and time to do it little differently.
How to reduce the burden of teachers in HPC implementation? If the process is cumbersome, will the project take off well?
Okay. This is a question often I observe with my team also. Here, I have seen the education of the education policy, as well as being a teacher and now being a leader from both the aspects. That is why at the beginning of the session, I had said that it has to be a very close hand in glove work with the managements as well as the teachers. We understand that it sounds a little burdensome, but because especially when you're documenting at every step of the way, when we have clear pedagogies, when we have clear outlines of how to measure competencies, can we jot them down? Can we take them down? Also understand, I firmly believe that if our training is done well, you will find a task easier. So please invest a little in training and break down your tasks into simple worksheets or simple achievable activities. You feel, because obviously for the first time when you see that entire curriculum goal sheet, you wonder how will we achieve observation of 30 to 35 children in a class under all these areas. So the best way to do is sit together as a team with your headmistress, with your principal, and break it down along with every competency. For example, when I say shows a liking, I have the curriculum goals in front of me. So when we say shows a liking for an understanding of nutritious food and does not waste food, make it a point that on a Monday, on this particular day, you will be testing the children on this. You would be observing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 1 month. You will have a clear idea within a month and keep documenting. And here it is very, very important that you discuss this with your team, how you are going to go about it. It definitely sounds burdensome, and then you have to supplement it with evidence, right? So take it slow, break it down into smaller tasks. And here my earnest request to headmistresses and principals is, please handhold the teachers through this process. It is burdensome, I understand, but break it down into smaller tasks, then should be achieved. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here. What is the difference in learning outcome after HPC implementation?
All right. So learning outcome are set for you. They are the expected learning out there. There won't be any change as such. I wouldn't say there would be a change. First, your learning outcome out of a particular subject or an activity or a curriculum goal is, say, for example, that by the end of this particular chapter, my child will be able to identify shapes or will be able to know the names of trees growing in the school surroundings. That's my expected learning outcome. Your children have achieved that. So they are at level 1. Now you want to know, you want to take it to the next level. That is, now you say that you want them to know the various, here I'll take the example of Goa. So we have a neem tree, or we have a hibiscus bush, or we have a mango tree. Now can we take it to the next level and say, what are the famous trees growing around the state of Goa? So what have you done? You've pushed the envelope a little, right? So you've changed the outcome yourself, right? So here also, when we say, for example, identifies letters, when we say now connects two letters to make two letter words, now connects three letters to make three letter words, is now able to read simple sentences, now can read an entire paragraph. Can you see your learning outcomes are changing? They are changing and they are progressive. So at every step, your learning outcome will increase in difficulty level and achievement level. So that's how you will progress. So, and this can be seen across. Today, if I'm doing a learning outcome that, okay, or if I'm trying to measure a child can catch and pass, say, a big football or a small football, or can jump like a frog, or is able to hop and skip. Now, tomorrow, the child will be able to hop and skip, say, a larger distance, or a child will be able to understand instructions to play a structured game. What are you doing? At every level, the PE teacher is changing the goal. You start with jumping, catching, hopping, catching each other, right? For a certain amount of time. And then suddenly, what do? You start progressing into team games. That means, what is the child doing? Listening to instructions of the teacher. And what is the child doing? Following those instructions and then playing successfully with his peers, sharing, understanding instructions, as well as participating in a game. Have you seen how slowly your learning outcome has changed? Right? So that is how you have to, and they are all progressive. All your children will be progressive. Some a little slow, but some very fast. Okay, some children, aren't they very fast to get into a game? But yes, your learning outcome has changed at every step of the way. Progressive. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question from Mary Fiano Fernandez. Is a soft copy or hard copy given to parents of the HPC?
For term one, we prefer an online copy, and at the end of term two, we give a term we give a hard copy, because that becomes your takeaway, right? When we implemented it last year, the joy with which the parent carried an entire colorful booklet was amazing to watch, right? Term one, we sent it, but also remember, I'll tell you a very practical aspect of it. Imagine the pages and the pages that you have to scan and upload. That is a cumbersome task. Here, the IT department should help out, right? Otherwise, for 38 children, what are you doing? Scanning so many pages, uploading, and you have an entire folder for every child. Imagine such 38 folders on your desktop, right? So you have to be a little smart about it. Yes, printing, it does take time, but to avoid that, it is work here, and here there is an entire team that they should help you. Imagine all the portfolio pages, all the self-awareness pages, they all need to be scanned, and each child has to be uploaded, and it's a heavy file, right? So we did it online, and our IT department pitched in. It helps. Otherwise, it is burdensome. I'm pro teacher. I am very, very pro teacher. So I would prefer help here to the teacher, and so that it can be done. So term one, it can be done online, and term two can be done as a collective booklet. They're going to the next class. It's a takeaway, right? Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question from Sonika. Hello, as ma'am mentioned that we need to understand that we're dealing with students from different backgrounds and that they need to be dealt with differently. I want to ask that how can we ensure that HPC is catering to these students?
Right. So for some time when they are coming into the classroom, you have to put your curriculum goals aside for the first 3 months, please. The Vidya Pravesh book is available online. It can be downloaded from CBSE Academics website or the NCRT website also. It is there. It's an orange colored book, and you can print it because somebody's asked, it flashed across my screen. You can just put it aside. right? You put it aside and just concentrate on the activities of the Vidya Pravesh. Even before that, now suppose a child is using a local language, right? First of all, forget the Vidya Pravesh also. Basic communication with the child has to be achieved to create a bond, right? So you have to sometimes leave your curriculum goals aside and you have to slowly start implementing a basic love for school, love for the learning space, love for getting up and coming to school and enjoying the time spent in classroom. And then slowly introduce the child to Vidya Pravesh in class 1. Class 1 children are very smart when they go to class 2. There you don't need any problem. The problem happens when they are in nursery and when they come to the lower kg and upper kg, that is Balvatika 1, 2 and 3. But communication, effective communication first in with the teacher and the student is very important. Then your goals will come later. If communication is not happening, none of your goals are achieved, right? Whether it is in the local language, which is spoken at home, or in English or in Hindi, whatever the child is comfortable with, right? Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. You mentioned changes in pedagogical approaches required for early learning. So is it covered in Nipun?
Yes, it is. Nipun covers very clearly at every level. It's a very thick booklet. It is my Bible for the implementation. Please make sure that your libraries have it. You have it amongst yourself. Please, it is important that you have the Nipun in front of you very beautifully, chapter wise. It covers all, from school readiness to school preparation module, to the role of a teacher, to teaching learning process. It is, everything is covered in levels. At level 1, the child is here. Level 2, the child is here. Level 3. So Nipun covers everything very well.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question from Reshma. When we design a HPC for the whole year, not every competency might be dealt with in term 1. So how do we mark in during term 1? Yeah.
Yes, understood. Absolutely. It is, you have to touch those goals, because when will it be relative? How will you compare it with where the child was and where the child will be at the end of the term, or when the child is moving from say class, or say an upper kg to a class 1? You should be able to some level of measurement should be there, about a relative measurement should be there, and you will be able to cover. Believe me, you will be able to. Let's not start with that because it is holistic. The whole idea is holistic. Every aspect should be dealt with. Every aspect should be measured, right? And always, never think of everything that everything has to be a pen paper test. No, pen paper can be very few, but basics in most goals are very, very achievable, very achievable. So make sure, otherwise it will not be holistic. It will completely negate that purpose, and you will not be able to measure it against where the child was and where the child is. So try and cover all. You will be able to.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here from Savita Savan. Would there be no relevance to the conventional method of grading? Is it completely irrelevant or has something to do with the current trends?
Yes. See, grading does come in. I am not completely negating the idea of grading. As the children go up, also please understand, sometimes teachers struggle with the fact that some children don't want to write. I think our generation is faster in typing than writing, right? The youngsters are far more comfortable with a mobile phone than writing. So writing skills do suffer. I fully agree with you. Grading system does come in because at the end of the day, our system is very marks driven. Slowly, to completely negate grading, I wouldn't do that. It should be slowly gotten. Otherwise, the child will never get used to the fact that I fall into this area. You cannot completely do that. So foundational years, till it's okay. But grading system does come into 3, 4, 5 and slowly veers towards marks. So I wouldn't say it is irrelevant. It is very relevant till today. So we should have a grading system broadly outlined with rubrics. Please understand, if my child is getting an A plus in a particular subject, they are, or he or she is getting an A plus because the child is at this level. Please understand, again, rubrics are very beautifully outlined. Is able to achieve task A, B, C, D. Hence, these rubrics are achieved, and these rubrics measure A plus. Right? That is very, very important. So the rubrics must be in place, and only when the child has ticked all the boxes can you put them into a grade A plus or a B plus or whatever is followed. Not marks, but rubrics. Right? Very important.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. There's another question from Mary Fiona. Some competencies are not relevant to the nursery class. So, is it important that we include it in the nursery HPC?
Not required. Not required at all. If you feel this is irrelevant at your school level, have a talk about it. And definitely it may not be relevant. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. And you'd also realize in a class of say 35 and 38, one or two children exhibit this particular trait or are able to get there. It's absolutely fine. At least you are be able to put them in a beginner stage. Put them in a beginner stage and start introducing an activity towards development of that stage. Not all children are able to jump from steps, for example, or not all children are able to hold a ball, or not able to play a game, or not able to relate to, if I say I have a biscuit in my hand, can you point out which other shape looks like a biscuit? Some children are not able. The concept of rectangle is still not there. Okay, I'm eating a round biscuit. What is there in the class, like, round? So some children are not able to do that, 2 plus 2 together. It's okay. They are beginning stage. So we don't say we're not going to do it all together. They are beginners and they will slowly get to proficient. So work in progress. And that's perfectly fine. Nobody is putting them into boxes, right? So it's okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Pragati Sharma has asked, what is the role of parents in HPC?
Wonderful question. Parents totally are disconnected from their children today. They are helicopter parents, but all for the wrong reasons. With due respect to all the parents, sometimes we feel we've deposited the child to school for 6 hours, right? We have deposited the child for 6 hours, 5 hours, and everything that the teacher will do. Please understand, the emotional quotient of a child will come from a parent. Very important. It will come from routines at home. It will come from the relationship between families. It will come from meal times. It will come from all the, a simple thing like family photographs, sharing. Simple things like sharing, manners, value system will come from homes. It will not come from the school. Don't we always say that the first school of a child is the home? That's the responsibility of the parent. To send a happy child to school is the parent's responsibility. To maintain that happiness quotient is our responsibility. This is where the parents come in. So your entire emotional well-being of a child and the social well-being of a child, emotional first, and to an extent, the social well-being of a child will come from parents. So that's the role of the parent.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Are there any specific tools or technologies that you use to simplify the recording and evaluation process of HPC?
You could. There are a lot of AI tools now available. I must share a little secret. I used AI to get this presentation customized in 12 seconds flat. I used Gamma slides and I use SlideShare a lot. So I did use it. AI is phenomenal. It's phenomenal to be helping you. There are various tools which are designed to help teachers set worksheets and to be able to co-collaborate on documents together, right? So please, you can research. You have ready worksheet templates and ready activities available to bring out certain competencies. Please use OpenAI to help you, right? To refine it. Please use. It's a wonderful platform. I don't say you. Sometimes we say no, it will kill the creativity of the teacher. No, a teacher will think and AI just enhances. So use it openly. Lovely activities, sheets, worksheet tools, pedagogies are available online, and the manner in which you can do your classwork. Please do explore. There are many ways to add on to your learning in the classroom.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. So we come to an end of the interactive session. Ma'am, would you like to say any special message for our teachers?
Uh, Keep going. Please understand that you are in this profession, some of you not by choice, some of you by choice. But once you are in this profession, it is a very, very big responsibility. The children look up to you as they come to the classroom. And when you get up in the morning, get ready to come to school, please bring that passion in you. That's number one. Number two, never stop learning. Please never stop learning. Keep engaging yourself with platforms, connect yourself, keep working on yourself to grow. Sometimes we say, okay, I'm done. I finished my teaching degree. I'm done. I'm okay. I am at this platform. Please understand that until unless you don't grow, the children will outgrow you in no time, right? So please keep learning, get that passion into the classroom. Even if you've made a difference in 15 children out of 33, it makes a difference, right? So keep learning, keep growing, and keep getting your special personality to the classroom, because to those 35, 38, 40 children, you are their world. They look up to you. Don't parents say that, ma'am, you tell my child, they will listen to you, but they will not listen to me. So you are their God, you are their role model, right? So always be on point, dressed well with your teacher personality, get that passion into the classroom, and be there for your children every day, because every day matters, right? I also say one more thing to my teachers, and I believe that when we do teacher appraisals, we say, okay, classroom observation was very good, on point, she used teaching aids, everything. But can a teacher's love, patience, passion be measured? Can it be quantified? No. But do you know, in the classroom, all these qualities make a difference? They do. The love, the affection for their students, the involvement, the engagement, the happiness, what the teacher's personality brings to the classroom makes all the difference, so that the classroom is a happy space. So it all begins with you. You are the pivot and the center to what's going on in your classroom. So without passion, your classroom is a dead space. So keep growing, keep the passion alive, so that you turn out to be excellent, not in anybody's eyes, but for your conscience and for your children. Very, very important.